Greetings, it's Tegan from the Haunting Podcast. If you're brave enough, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss a single spooky episode. And now, back to the spooky and ooky. Hello and welcome back to the Haunting Podcast. I'm your host, Tegan.
And I'm Jordan.
Today we're talking about New York. I'm a true Chicagoan. I don't like New York.
I love New York.
I don't like New York.
There's really no city like New York.
Like, if you're from New York, if you live in New York, if you like New York, I'm not going to judge you. I personally don't like New York.
I think there's nothing really quite like it. There's always something to do. There's so much fun to have in the
Kind of
city.
sounds like Chicago.
Yeah, but New York is bigger than Chicago.
New York is also meaner.
But bigger.
New York is also dirtier.
But more haunted.
I mean, I don't know about that one. I really don't.
It's
I
pretty
can't
haunted.
I mean, so is Chicago. Our entire city burnt down at some point.
Yeah, but New York has 3 times the population.
We found a submarine in the river.
Yeah, I know. We learned that on that creepy cruise. That was crazy.
We went on a creepy cruise yesterday, and we found out that along with SS Eastland, they apparently found a submarine at the bottom of the river, which I didn't know was actually that deep.
I had no idea about that. That was wild.
So yeah, we have a submarine in our river. Take that, New York.
Either way, today we're talking about New York and not Chicago for once.
Well, I'm going to have to look into that one a little bit more then.
I mean, yeah, we kind of have to.
We're going to have to look at. But we're going to kick it off with the Morris-Jumel Mansion. So this is the oldest house in Manhattan. This is a historic mansion. It's said to be haunted by several spirits of former residents, including Eliza Jamal and possibly even George Washington.
What? Really?
I don't know why you would choose that place to haunt, but go you, George.
No idea why either.
The Morris-Jumel Mansion is located at 65 Jamal Terrace in the Washington Heights neighborhood. It's a significant piece of New York City's colonial history. Built in 1765 by British colonial Roger Morris, the mansion served as its headquarters for both sides during the American Revolutionary War. In 1776, General George Washington used the mansion as his temporary headquarters during the Battle of Harlem Heights, making it an important site in the fight for American independence. Maybe that's why he did it. He said American independence. Eliza Jamal, one of the mansion's most notable residents, moved in with her husband, Stephen Jamal, a wealthy French wine merchant, in 1810. After Stephen's death, Eliza, a colorful and controversial figure, married former Vice President Aaron Burr, who will also be in a later place in New York.
Yeah,
we'll talk about him later.
That's the dude who killed Alexander Hamilton in a duel.
He did do that.
Yep.
Maybe we'll bring that up later.
Maybe.
Their marriage was short-lived, and Eliza lived in the mansion until her death in 1865. The Morris-Jumel Mansion is reputedly haunted by several spirits. Visitors and staff have reported sightings of Eliza Jamal's ghost, often described as a woman in a long gown wandering the halls. Some believe Eliza's spirits remain due to her tumultuous life and the dramatic events she experienced. Her presence is sometimes felt in the room where she died, and guests have reported cold spots and the feeling of being watched. No.
It sounds terrible, and I would not enjoy it whatsoever on my part.
There's always a hotel or a mansion where you always feel like you're being watched, and it just makes me want to stay home, honestly.
I mean, it's not a hotel I would personally check in at. Ever, really?
Who says you'll check out?
That's what I'm actually pretty worried about when it comes to those things. I do not like those kind of things.
You don't want to check in and never check out? You can become part of the spirit.
I'm good.
And sit there and be like, ooh.
I'm so good on it. I'm so good.
Well, another spectral figure reported at the mansion is that of a Haitian soldier, reflecting the building's military history during the Revolutionary War. This ghost is said to appear in full uniform, often startling visitors with his sudden presence. Again, I just have to say this. It would really suck to be a ghost stuck in your uniform.
Yeah.
I would much rather...
Service is lifelong, even beyond, apparently.
Look at you.
Yeah.
There are also tales of George Washington's ghost haunting the mansion, given his significant connection to the house during a critical period in American history. It's believed that his spirit may still linger. Some visitors claim to have seen a figure resembling Washington, particularly in the room he used as his office. Again, I don't know why you'd want to haunt there, but
Maybe he's bored of the same old place like Mount Vernon, I guess. Who knows?
I wouldn't want to haunt. I wouldn't want to haunt my work. I'm just.
Oh yeah, that would be terrible.
Could
to
you
just
imagine
dying and having to go back to your work?
Yeah, well, could you imagine just haunting this office for the rest of eternity?
No, that would
You've
suck.
already spent enough time here.
I would really be sad about that. Very depressed about that.
Oh no, not a depressed ghost. Even with all of that, today the Morris-Jumel Mansion operates as a museum, offering guided tours that explore both the rich history and its ghostly legends. These tours often include stories of paranormal activity, making it a popular destination for those interested in both history and supernatural. Kind of like one of the things we like to do here, Jordan.
Yes, we do enjoy the supernatural here. It's some of our favorites. We actually have a podcast about it. I know, crazy to think about, right?
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, I mean, who is?
We do more than just read Reddit stories?
We do a little bit more than that. We started off doing things like this.
We did.
It is the bulk of it. Well, I have a story myself. This one is called the Dakota.
Ooh.
Spooky. This iconic apartment building in the Upper West Side is reputedly haunted by several spirits, including the ghost of John Lennon, one of my favorites, the Beatles, baby, who was murdered outside the building in 1980 in December. The Dakota, located at 1 West 72nd Street in Manhattan, is one of New York's most famous and historic apartment buildings. Completed in 1884, it was designed by architect Henry J. Hardenberg in a Renaissance revival style. The building's distinctive architecture, characterized by its gables, turrets, and high ceilings, has made it a landmark in the city. John Lennon, the legendary musician and former member of the Beatles, moved into the Dakota with his wife Yoko Ono in 1973. Lennon was tragically murdered outside the building on December 8th, 1980 by Mark David Chapman.
Tragic times, really.
It really is.
Yeah, really, that was tragic.
I grew up really liking Lennon.
I grew up really afraid of the Beatles after my my middle school teacher told me about the conspiracy.
Oh, the Paul's dead conspiracy? Yes.
After that, I was like terrified of the Beatles.
Paul's dead. Miss him.
She would blast that as high as it goes. Just listen to it.
It's crazy.
No, ma'am, that's scary.
It's crazy.
Go on.
Since his death, numerous reports have surfaced of Lennon's ghost being seen around the building. Yoko Ono herself has claimed to have seen John's spirit sitting at the white piano and says he told her, "Don't be afraid. I am still with you."
I have to tell you something, sweetie. I hope she found that so comforting. Don't ever do that.
No, I wouldn't want you to do that to me either.
Yeah, don't. I'm
just
not
you sitting in the kitchen making like gluten-free bread going, "I'm still with you." And I'd be like, "No? How about no?"
You'd wake up one day and there's just cheesy bread waiting for you.
I mean, that'd be cool, but you should still move on.
I mean, yeah, fair.
In addition to Lennon's ghost, other ghostly apparitions have been reported at the Dakota. One common sighting is that of a young girl dressed in the turn-of-the-century clothing who is said to appear on the upper floors of the building. Another frequently mentioned ghost is that of a man with a handlebar mustache. Always my favorite.
I love the handlebar mustache.
Always my favorite.
I love it when I see a person with a handlebar mustache. It is my favorite thing.
I feel like it's the most cliche ghost thing.
It's like the girl in a long white dress.
Yes.
There's always a woman in a long white dress.
And the guy with the handlebar mustache. It's like you can always count on those to show up.
The bowler hat.
Often believed to be the building's original architect, Henry J. Hardenberg, or possibly a former resident or doorman from the early 20th century. The Dakota has been a setting for various works of fiction and films, including the 1968 horror movie Rosemary's Baby, directed by Roman Polanski. Ew.
Terrible movie.
Terrible director. The film's unsettling atmosphere and the building's Gothic architecture have contributed to its haunted reputation. Despite that reputation, the Dakota remains one of the most prestigious and sought-after residences in New York City. Its allure is not only due to its history and architecture, but also to the mystique surrounding its paranormal activity. I don't think I would want to live there.
I don't understand how all of these haunted places are like the most alluring places to live.
I know. People are just like, we must live there. We must live there, but I'm not
I
gonna.
already have enough issues. I don't need ghosts as one of them.
I feel like a lot of people would feel the same way, though.
My therapist already has enough to worry about.
This day and age is tough, You don't need to be haunted too. Back in the 70s when all that was happening a lot, people were a little more grounded and settled,
What do I see? Those like TikToks where it's like when you live with a ghost, but you can't afford to move. Like
At that point, you just got to tell the ghost, like, look, we're stuck in this together, man.
These people are choosing to live there with these ghosts. They can definitely afford to move.
Look, if the rent is so good,
I don't think the rent is so good, though.
I mean, probably not in the Dakota.
The way you just described this place, I mean, granted, I've never actually seen the Dakota, but the way you just described this place and everything that you just said, I very much doubt that these people are struggling.
Yeah, well,
here, tell me if you'd want to live in this place. It is called the House of Death. This brown stone at 14 West 10th Street in Greenwich Village is rumored to be haunted by over 20 spirits. It's the haunted mansion, including the ghost of Mark Twain, who lived there for a short period. The House of Death, located in the picturesque and historic Greenwich Village neighborhood, is one of New York's most notoriously haunted residences. This stately brownstone, built in the 1850s, has a storied past filled with tragedy and mystery, contributing to its reputation as a hotspot for paranormal activity.
Already don't like where this is going.
I love it. Let's move there.
No.
One of the most famous former residents of the House of Death is celebrated author Mark Twain, whose real name is Samuel Clemens. Twain lived in the brownstone from 1990 to 1901, only 1 year. Although his stay was relatively brief, his presence has left a lasting impact. Twain reportedly experienced strange occurrences during his time at the house, and his ghost is one of the many spirits said to haunt the building. Witnesses have described seeing Twain's apparition dressed in his characteristic white suit, and he is often seen near the first floor staircase or sitting in the window. This man really said, you know what, I'm just going to join them.
He very much
if
did.
You can't...
He was just like, you know what? This is a great place. I want to stick to being in this place.
He really said, if you can't beat them, join them.
Pretty much. He did. Yeah, he did. You know what? Hats off to him. The great American author.
He said, I want to go party with these ghosts.
And he did. And I have a cat now.
Look at how beautiful he is. In addition to Mark Twain, the House of Death is rumored to be haunted by the spirits of over 20 former residents. This includes children, women, and men who have lived and died within the walls over the decades. One of the most tragic stories associated with the house involves the murder of a 6-year-old Lisa Steinberg in 1987. Whoever did that isn't Jack.
Yeah, that's...
Who are you?
That's evil.
Oh, here it is. By her adoptive father, Joel Steinberg. She was adopted and you did this to her? Oh, okay.
That's just...
You want to fight. A case that shocked the city and added to the house's dark reputation. The ghost of little Lisa is said to haunt the building. The residents have reported hearing unexplained noises and sensing a child's presence. The house's haunted reputation is further fueled by various reports of paranormal activity. Residents and visitors have described cold spots, sudden drops in temperatures, disembodied voices, and unexplained shadows. Me, that one night that I got up to use the bathroom and I walked back to the room and there was just a shadow figure in our living room.
I really hope that was like an hallucination.
It wasn't.
Oh, come on. I don't need any more... I don't need to live in a haunted house.
It wasn't this place.
I still don't want to believe I lived in a haunted house.
I never said it was haunted. It was just passing through. Sometimes things just pass through.
Oh, well, that's not as... that's not as settling as you might think it is.
I think it's very settling. Nope. At least it's not here. Some have even claimed to feel an oppressive presence, especially in certain rooms of the house. These experiences have been so prevalent that the house has been featured in numerous books, articles, and television programs about haunted places in New York City.
Why do people live in these places, man? I just don't get it.
Someone bought that house.
I just, it's cool and all. Like, I love New York, It has a lot of cool buildings. So does Chicago, a lot of cool architecture. And, I like paranormal stories. We're doing a paranormal podcast. But I just can't imagine going like, hell yeah, I want to live in one of these places. No!
Those people went and lived like paid the money to move in there just to be with the ghost, like to see the ghost, to experience the ghost, I wouldn't be surprised to find out that they hold seances. These aren't just like run-of-the-mill people. At least I don't feel like they would be run-of-the-mill. I don't feel like you would like want to buy this house unless it was with the intentions to have creepy experiences. I mean, that's just how I feel about it.
I feel bad about it. All right.
My witch's nose senses this.
my witch's nose is tingling. All right. I got another one for us. The New Amsterdam Theater. Located on Broadway, this theater is said to be haunted by the ghost of Olive Thomas, a Ziegfeld Follies girl who tragically died in 1920. Her apparition has been seen carrying a blue bottle. The New Amsterdam Theater, situated at 1214 West 42nd Street in the heart of Manhattan's Theater District, is one of Broadway's most historic and renowned venues. Opened in 1903, the theater originally hosted the Ziegfeld Follies, a series of elaborate theatrical productions created by Florence Ziegfeld that were famous for their beautiful showgirls, extravagant costumes, and spectacular sets.
Did you want to do this one because of the showgirls?
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy.
I'm just a girl.
Exactly. I'm just a guy. Olive Thomas, one of the most famous Ziegfeld Follies, was a popular actress and model in the early 20th century. Tragically, she died at the age of 25 in 1920 under mysterious circumstances.
She was murdered. That's
probably.
That line screams murder. If you tell me mysterious circumstances that were never
allegedly murdered.
Yeah, that sounds like murder.
While on vacation in Paris with her husband, Jack Pickford, the brother of silent film star Mary Pickford, Olive accidentally ingested mercury, a toxic...
How do you accidentally ingest that?
That's a good question. I could not tell you. Maybe it was in something then she didn't realize it was in.
That's called murder.
Murder. A toxic substance used to treat Jack's syphilis.
Oh, and it was for...
So it turned out Jack was having a little too much fun on the side. You know, they called it the Roaring 20s, you know?
Well, you know what? Syphilis, from my understanding, was a big problem back at that point. It's just that...
Well, it killed your Chicago Capone, dude.
That's true. I wasn't prepared for that line to come out of your mouth.
Oops.
Anyways, that was still murder. This is sounding more and more like murder.
Maybe.
Go on.
The circumstances of her death led to speculation and rumors, adding to her mystique. Since her death, Olive Thomas has become one of Broadway's most famous ghosts.
Did you say the mystery of her death? I mean, it sounds very cut and dry.
Yeah, but like, who done it?
Probably her husband with syphilis.
No, he had syphilis.
He had
syphilis.
No. Okay, go on.
Her spirit is said to haunt the New Amsterdam Theater, where she performed during her career. Numerous sightings of her ghost has been reported over the years, with witnesses describing a beautiful woman in a green, beaded dress carrying a blue bottle, which is believed to be a reference to the bottle of mercury that led to her untimely death.
She just carries around when she was murdered.
She's like, beware of STDs. Theater staff and performers have reported seeing her apparition, especially near the stage and the dressing rooms. The ghost of Olive Thomas has become an enduring part of the theater's lore. In fact, her presence is so well known that a portrait of Olive holding a bottle is displayed backstage at the New Amsterdam Theater. At least they acknowledge it.
I have to say, this sounds a lot like this man became jealous, poisoned his wife, and it didn't work because now her ghost is like, I'm more famous than ever.
I guess, God. Before the Disney theatrical group took over the theater in the 1990s and restored it, workers and performers would greet Olive with a "Good night, Olive" at the end of each day to ensure her spirit remained friendly.
Are you about to tell me that Disney has a ghost? Like, Disney bought a theater with a ghost walking around with a bottle of mercury?
You think Disney cares?
Like,
Disney doesn't care.
Whose husband has, like, syphilis?
Disney doesn't care. Their founder is like frozen in ice.
I really hope that they say goodnight to Olive every day or every night. I really do.
Good night, Olive. It just reminds me of like Popeye's wife, you know? Okay. Olive oil.
Olive oil. No, I'd have to say some cooked spinach with olive oil, though, is really good.
Oh, yeah.
That one still kind of took me off. I'm not even going to lie. That one, the way that woman died, just absolutely, like the whole circumstance around it just kind of threw me off.
It's weird. It's a weird one for sure.
All right. Well, I have one more for the night, and it is the Washington Square Park. Once a burial ground, Washington Square Park is said to be haunted by the spirits of those buried there, including victims of yellow fever and a mass grave of poor individuals. Washington Square Park, located in the heart of Greenwich Village, is one of New York's most beloved public spaces, known for its vibrant atmosphere and iconic arch. However, beneath its surface lies a darker history that contributes to its reputation as one of the city's most haunted locations. In the late 18th and early 19th century, the area that is now Washington Square Park served as Potter's Field, a public burial ground for those who could not afford private burials. This included many victims of the yellow fever epidemic that swept through...
Nasty.
It was a nasty.
Nasty.
Absolutely nasty. That swept through New York City in the 1790s and the early 1800s. The epidemic claimed thousands of lives, and many of the deceased were hastily buried in mass graves to prevent the spread of disease, which I completely understand, but also feel like that probably contributes to the hauntings that were had.
It definitely would, in my opinion. Yeah,
that's not a nice way to be buried.
No, it isn't. Also not a nice way to die.
It's not a nice way to die. It's not a nice way to be buried. It's not a way for your family to really come and be like, hello. Estimates suggested that as many as 20,000 bodies remained interred beneath Washington Square Park. In addition to yellow fever victims, the Potter's Field was used to bury unidentified individuals. The park also served as a site for public executions, further adding to the grim history. The Hangman's Elm, a historic English elm tree in the northwest corner of the park, is said to have been used for hangings in the early 19th century. The park's haunted reputation stems from numerous reports of paranormal activity. Visitors and park workers have reported seeing ghostly apparitions, including shadowy figures and misty shapes that appear and disappear without explanation. Some have claimed to have heard disembodied voices and the sounds of footsteps when no one else is around.
It's how it happens.
Always
how it
is.
happens.
Cold spots and sudden drops in temperatures have also been noted, particularly near areas where burials are often concentrated. One particular eerie legend involves the ghost of a woman in a long, flowing dress. There it is. The woman in the long dress.
Has to happen. Always has to happen. It's just you can't have a ghost story without it.
Oh, you cannot. It's so true. Believed to be a victim of yellow fever, she is said to wander the park at night, appearing to those who venture near the site of the former Potter's Field. Another commonly reported apparition is that of a man in old-fashioned clothing, possibly one of the park's executed criminals who is seen near the Hangman's Elm. Most of those people were probably innocent, I will say that one.
Yeah, those times, yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. I am familiar with that place, and it is really cool.
I mean, I'm familiar with it too, and it's absolutely beautiful. I'll stay here, though.
Stay here, though. A place that's probably just as haunted, but also just as vibrant. Party, party, party. Party with the ghost, I guess.
Party hardy. Kind of like the people outside.
Yeah.
They are partying.
They're partying hardy. They're acting like a ghost. Won't be disturbed. But now, for the final story of the night. 1 if by land, 2 if by sea. And if that sounds familiar...
It does not.
Really?
Yeah. Never actually heard this.
Have you heard this? The British is coming.
Yes.
Yes. That's what Paul Revere said on his night ride. If the British were coming by land, he would light 1 of the lanterns. If it was 2, if he lit it 2, they were coming by sea.
Okay.
That's how he let
and
the rebels know.
someone named a restaurant after that?
Yeah. This restaurant in the West Village, housed in a historical carriage house, it is said to be haunted by the ghost of Aaron Burr's daughter, Theodosia Burr Alston, among others. 1 if by land.
Name again.
Yep. Aaron Burr's coming back up. Oh my God. The funny thing is, if he didn't kill Alexander Hamilton, he probably would be a president. He probably would have been elected a president.
Yeah, typically murder kind of kills that kind of stuff for you.
Well, duels were illegal at the time, but they decided to go through it anyway.
Yeah, they just said, let's go for it.
And now Aaron Burr is known as a murderer, and Alexander Hamilton has a play.
He does.
He does have a play.
He does have a play.
1 if by land, 2 if by sea, located at 17 Borough Street in the West Village, is one of New York City's most romantic and atmospheric dining establishments. The restaurant is a house in a historical carriage house built in 1767 that once belonged to Aaron Burr, the 3rd Vice President of the United States.
I just need to know how it's romantic and yet still in our list of haunted places.
What's more romantic than having a 3rd wheel, I guess? This one being a ghost. who is infamously known for killing Alexander Hamilton in a duel. The building's a rich history and its association with Burr and has contributed to its reputation as one of the city's most haunted locations. The most famous ghost said to haunt the restaurant is Theodosia Burr Alstead herself. Theodosia, born in 1783, was a highly educated and accomplished woman for her time. Tragically, she disappeared at sea in 1813 while traveling from South Carolina to New York. Her fate remains one of history's mysteries, and her ghost is believed to haunt the former family carriage house. Patrons and staff have reported seeing her apparition in various parts of the restaurant.
She's just traveling around.
Clearly.
This whole place is my home.
Often described as a beautiful woman in the early 19th century clothing, some have experienced unexplained code drafts and the feeling of being watched, especially in the dining area and near the staircase. In addition to Theodosia, the restaurant is rumored to be haunted by several other spirits. These include former patrons and employees who have had tragic or dramatic experience within the building. Many diners and staff members have reported paranormal activity such as flickering lights, items moving on their own, and sudden drops in temperature. Some have also heard disembodied voices and unexplained footsteps echoing through the historic halls. One if by land, two if by sea's haunted reputation is further enhanced by its romantic ambience.
Well, how does that enhance it?
I like it.
How does that enhance it? Could you imagine
it's beautiful.
going on a date? It's like a first date. You're enjoying it, and all of a sudden this woman in 19th century clothing just walks by. Like,
let's do it.
Is she supposed to be like, what?
That's beautiful. I mean, look, here's a description of the place. It has candlelit tables, brick walls, and a cozy, intimate atmosphere that makes it feel like a step back in time, complete with ghosts back in that time.
Complete with ghosts who apparently just watch you from the stairs.
I think it's great.
I
want to go here.
Nice romantic date. It sounds lovely, and then you get the feeling of being watched.
I love it. The restaurant has embraced its ghostly lore, with staff members occasionally sharing ghost stories with curious diners, us. The combination of its storied past, elegant setting, and paranormal activity makes it a popular destination for both food enthusiasts and ghost hunters.
Again, you're sitting there having a romantic date, and all of a sudden you have ghost hunters just...
Can you, if it's like, those ghost hunter shows, like you're trying to have a romantic dinner with like your significant other, and they're like, oh my God, I feel a cold spot over here, guys.
What is that one show? Oh, I cannot for the life of me, with Jeff Bezos.
What?
Was it Jeff Bezos that does these like haunted shows?
The founder of Amazon?
Oh, no. God, no. For the life of me, I cannot think of this man's name, but every time he does like an episode of his ghost show, like he claims to be possessed. He's like, all of a sudden there was a blinding rage. Like, could you imagine just trying to eat your dinner and this man comes up to you in a blinding rage claiming to be possessed by a ghost?
It would be awkward when I'm handing you roses or something and this guy's just like, I'm possessed in the middle of the floor, I guess.
He's like, and then I had to get into my producer's face. Smack him around.
Oh no, this guy's just fulfilling a fantasy. Come on.
No, this guy is like, oh my gosh, it's so absolutely terrible. But every time he is on the screen, he is being possessed. And he has this like, I mean, I will not lie. He had a very interesting documentary about like a house that was haunted, but there were parts in it that you're just like, okay, buddy.
For real, buddy. Like, okay, whatever.
All right, guys. Those were it. Those were our stories about New York.
Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it.
Bye-bye. Stay spooky.
Stay spooky.